Hey everybody, this is Bear. We're here to talk about planetary interaction in how it relates to manufacturing fuel blocks. Fuel blocks are a great thing in EVE. They help fuel our starbases and our citadels. They require fuel on an hourly basis to run all the modules. There are two main components of a fuel block. You have this part over here, which is all planetary interaction items, and then you have various ice minerals and isotopes. These come from ice mining. You're not going to find ice inside of a wormhole, except very special shattered wormholes, so likely you will be hauling this in either from a trade hub or from some high-sec mining operations. So you need both of these. You need your ice minerals, and then you need your planetary interaction items here, and then you manufacture them in a industry complex with a standard blueprint, as you would any other type of things. In the fuel blocks, we have several tiers of planetary interaction. You have your base resources, or what people refer to as P0. And then you have your next level of resources, generally referred to as P1, where these base units are refined into P1. So you can see here that heavy metals are refined up to toxic metals there. So no combining happening. We're just mining, if you will, base materials and then refining them into level 1 materials here, and we will need all of these in various quantities. Once you have your level 1 materials, you will combine them on what is referred to as a factory planet into these P2 materials. Fuel blocks require a P3 material, robotics, which is a further combination of P1 products here. So you have mechanical parts and consumer electronics that go into robotics. So this video is outside the scope of basic planetary interaction, but I'll show you how I have some things set up here to go ahead and generate these fuel blocks. I run this on several characters across a couple different accounts, because there are a lot of materials to gather and a lot of planets to work with. So I'll show you on one character what it looks like to extract these level 0 materials and refine them up to a higher level 1 material. So we have our standard PI character here. We'll go ahead and open up our planetary interaction menu here. So we got some planets. These are all extractor planets, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like here. An extractor planet is going to have 3 major parts. You have your extractor head. We are extracting noble metals in this case. The noble metals are then shipped over to a launch pad, which is kind of a buffer holding area. And then from the launch pad here, they go into our basic industry facilities. So these facilities are taking the level 0 material, noble metals, and then creating them into precious metals. So over here we have the noble metals that get refined up into precious metals. So you kind of see that this planet is doing this part of the work that we need. Noble metals to precious metals. Another example of this, we have this planet over here. Same basic setup. You have your extractor head. The extractor head is extracting non-CS crystals. It goes over this rather long link here because that's where the best resources had moved over time. Into our buffer launch pad, and then the buffer launch pad feeds these base industry facilities to create Charles structures. And then these base industry facilities go ahead and store that back into the launch pad. So you kind of see same system, different planet, taking these crystals, and making these structures. So this is just a P0 to P1 setup here. Most of your characters in a complex PI will just be doing extractor planets. Here's another planet where we are doing base metals, all the way up to the launch pad, to the basic industry facility, creating reactive metals. Then, once we have all of our materials, specifically the P1 materials that have been refined on these planets, we need to go pick them up. So we fly around in our hauler to go visit the customs offices and pick those up. So I'll show you what that looks like over here. So this is a different character, largely responsible for combining onto factory planets. But in this current system with fuel blocks, there's a bit of a bottleneck because there's only one lava planet. And a lava planet tends to feed some of the important items that we need for the fuel blocks, namely toxic metals. These pieces here only come from the lava planet in this system. So while this character is largely responsible for combining, we do take advantage of extracting from the lava planet. So we're going to go ahead and warp over to our planet here. I'm going to warp to the customs office. While I'm on my way, I will access the customs office. So you see here our toxic metals have been refined from our base industry structures and then stored back into the launch pad, which then we can access here via our customs office. So I'll take our toxic metals, transfer them over, and then I'm going to go ahead and pop them into my hauler. So you see I got some materials already here. These have been collected from other characters, brought back to the station, and then I have them here, already ready to go. So then I'm going to show you what a factory planet looks like. This is a good factory planet. On this planet, we are creating mechanical parts, which is this part of the chain. The mechanical parts have two inputs. One is the reactive metals, and then the other one is precious metals. These two feed into the mechanical parts P2 material. So on here, I have set up two launch pads. These are my input launch pads. One will hold reactive metals, and then the other one will hold the precious metals. So as we will warp over to that customs office. We'll go ahead and access that customs office. And you see I already have some materials that are still in staging in the customs office area. So we're warping on our way over there. So I will fill up these two launch pads with my input materials, which are the precious and the reactive metals. They will funnel through all of these advanced industry facilities, and then pop out here what I call my output launch pad. You don't need this many industry facilities. Actually, between all of my characters, I can't actually supply enough material to keep this fully stocked. But that's up to you based on the level of your character and your skills, and how many command center upgrades you can do to get as many or as few of these industry facilities as you need. So we've reached over to our customs office. I will find this launch pad finding can be a little tricky. You can either read the little identifier here. I tend to write it down on a piece of paper so I know when I'm doing my little moving routine which one is which. If you double click on this, it will open the launch pad that you're interested in, which can be helpful. Or if you already have some material in there, then you know what you're transferring in. So this launch pad is where I put the reactive metals. I got some in my cargo hold. I'm going to drag my reactive metals over, transfer that down. You see the little launch pad got full. We'll do the same with our precious metals. We got some in there. Transfer that down. I got some more with me. We'll transfer those down. Fill that up. So that's full. Obviously, I'm a little short on these. I can go around and pick up some more from other characters. Our final product here, mechanical parts, is in our extraction launchpad. So I'll go ahead and transfer those. I'll grab those. Great. Put those in my little hauler. We're going to go over to another planet here. Warp over to this customs office. This is where we are doing the consumer electronics. And it is a very similar setup. I got my input launch pads. One material here. One material here. They go through these advanced factories. Then they output to my output launch pad here. So same deal. I have input materials for the consumer electronics. Those are toxic metals and these chiral structures. So I'm almost there. We're going to warp on over. Once we get there, same routine. Let's go ahead and load up our 2 input materials into our input launch pads. So we got toxic metals. I'll match that up here because there's already some in there. This launch pad here has my output material, consumer electronics, which is this guy. So I know I don't need to fill that up. So the other one, this empty one, is where the structures go. Well, then I will transfer these down. They will go down into the launch pad, and then you see the little factories start doing their thing. My finished goods, consumer electronics, is what I'm taking here. Those will go back up into my hauler. So I got mechanical parts, consumer electronics. Looking back at our chart, that is this piece and this piece. So as you notice, these are also inputs into third tier robotics. So same deal. We'll go over to that factory planet. Same setup. Couple input launch pads, bunch of factories, and then my output launch pad. So we'll warp over there. Then we've arrived here. Same deal. Let's go ahead and access our customs office. Double click here to get the launch pad to the one that we want. WP. We know that this is where the consumer electronics go. So I'll beam that down to the planet. So that's full, that's doing its thing. This other one, 2Q, is where we put our mechanical parts. Beam that down to the planet. Then we see that our factories are now producing our robotics. And if I look at my output launch pad, here are some robotics. So I'll go ahead and transfer those up. Put those in my hauler, and then I'll go ahead and head on back to the station. And then, should I have enough materials, all these pieces, then I can install the blueprint with the various ice products from refining ice, and then make my fuel blocks. Hope that helps kind of explain some basic concepts of advanced PI, where you have your level 0 materials, you refine them on the same planet, your extractor planets, to these level 1 materials. Then you use a factory planet, like this one, to go ahead and make other items, like your coolants, enriched uranium, mechanical parts, consumer electronics, and or robotics. Hope that helps. Any questions? Let me know. Otherwise, good luck.